And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Team Ace Invitational, the semi-finals. We have our first player for the final tomorrow. This is Slayer's GanZi winning against BBoongBBoong Prime with 2-1. And now the next match will be MVP against OGS Supernova. I am Carlo, and with me is Wolf. Wolf, how about the next game? You excited?
I'm really excited, especially because we have a rematch here. You know, MVP was able to edge out Supernova in that WCG tournament, and now he's got a chance to fight back, prove himself again. So I'm really excited. I love rematch types of stories. It gives, like, you know, kind of a back history to this game.
Yeah, that's exactly the way I feel, and we talked about Supernova a little bit in the earlier stages of this cast, and especially his performance in the last few days in the WCG as well as the Arena of Legends in particular were really, really good, but he struggled a little bit in Code S. We mentioned that he lost to GanZi and Virus in this Terran versus Terran matchup and was demoted to Code A, whereas in the Arena of Legends he was able to take out Nasty. He won against Marine Prime, against Genius as well. So he was doing really, really good, but for some reason in the Code S competition he just couldn't cut it.
Yeah, he just wasn't able to do it, and again, I mean, I keep going back to this, but I'm really surprised he lost to Virus. You know, Virus is a player who I personally think, you know, is just not on Supernova's level, based on the results that Supernova has shown in the past, and not only in the GSL, but in other tournaments as well. I mean, I used to cast a lot for the FX Open events, and Supernova played in a lot of those, and he just did so well, not only against foreigners, but also Koreans in that tournament, so I just expected a lot more out of him.
Yeah, exactly. It was a little bit weird to see him go down like that. But, well, we have him beating Don Ragu with 2-1 in the quarterfinal. Now he has to face MVP, and the winner of this best of 3 will face GanZi in the final match tomorrow of the Arena of Legends. And MVP, of course, being a real beast. Not only Terran versus Terran, this guy is just probably the best StarCraft 2 player out there right now.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, his only real rival is Nesty. He did lose to MMA at the BlizzCon GSL finals, but I feel like he kind of defeated himself in that finals rather than MMA defeating him. So, you know, MVP, he's got a lot of talent. He's definitely the most consistent GSL finalist, I think, ever. You know, Nesty is a close second, but I think MVP is definitely the best. Look at that. You can see champion, runner-up, champion, runner-up. In a weird situation where he made it to the round of 16.
Yeah, MVP, he won 2 GSL once. Well, in October he ended up second. Wolf already mentioned that he lost to MMA with 4-1 actually, which was a little bit surprising. We watched those games here at the GOM studio. He won an MLG and Anaheim at the beginning of August as well, but he actually defeated MMA, so those two happen to clash together quite on a regular basis. And yeah, MVP beat Oz in the quarterfinal with 3-1. Obviously, he was also the person able to win a BlizzCon. He took down Nasty in the final. Some awesome games. Really, really interesting ones. And his victory against Supernova in the WCG Korea. He won against his opponent with 2-1. So this is going to be kind of a rematch. I mentioned that. We have MVP in TVT with a 71% win ratio, 77 wins against 32 losses.
That's a ton of games. I mean, that shows that's just not like a, you know, a 7-2 or something like that. That is a 77-32. I mean, that shows he's got not only a good win ratio, but a great amount of experience in this matchup.
Yep, that's a really stable and impressive 71%. I mean, 71% in one matchup. That is just insane, especially, you already mentioned it, with that many games backing it up. Supernova, on the other hand, he has a 37 wins and 22 losses, which gives him 63% in TVT. That's going to be quite interesting, as both players are really good in the Terran Mirror match.
Yeah, and we saw Supernova able to take a game off MVP at WCG. It's definitely something he can do. I'm kind of curious to see as these styles collide what MVP is going to do. MVP really likes to go for that mech-oriented play, but as we've seen, sometimes he changes it up and goes for bio play or even Marine Tank.
The first map, by the way, will be Daybreak. It's going to be a best of 3. We're just waiting for the players to get ready so we can start that series between MVP and the Supernova. obviously, well, it's taking place in Busan. We mentioned that earlier as well. So this is an offline event right now. Live games at that, and yeah, let's have a look what the two of them are up to. OGS Supernova, I have to admit I'm rooting a little bit for the underdog here. It's always nice. It's not really David against Goliath, but rooting for the underdog is always something that I can sympathize with.
I actually am the type of guy who normally roots for the favorite. You know, I see MVP and I go, you know, this guy is going to win. He should win this. You know, and when I see Titans fall, I always get this mindset of, well, what could he have done better? You know, did he really lose this? You know, did his opponent win this game, or did he lose this game for himself?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. We've seen a lot of that stuff happen in the past few weeks and months. Talking about BBoongBBoong against NST, for example. And now MVP, and well, they are quite chatty, aren't they? They're chatting quite a lot. Can you read that?
I can read it, but I couldn't really tell you exactly everything it's saying. It looks like they're going to start, though. I can tell you that. As they said, go in the chat, and the countdown is starting.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back in a few seconds with MVP against Supernova. Map number 1 will be Daybreak. And here we go.
Getting your fix, I'm letting it go. I already know you don't always end up a hero. It doesn't give you power, try and make me feel like a coward. Your kind is...
And here we are at the top right position. In yellow we have MVP, the Terran player that was able to take 2 GSL finals. He lost the last one to MMA with 1-4, and this time he's facing his opponent at the bottom left of the map in red. This is OGS Supernova. This is kind of a rematch of WCG Korea, where MVP was able to take out Supernova with 2-1. We have the Terran versus Terran semi-final, and the winner of this best of 3 will face Slayer's GanZi in the final match tomorrow. With me is Wolf. I'm Calder, and we are going into that match. I'm really excited about the Terran versus Terran. So, Wolf, what do you expect on a map like that?
Well, you know, we were actually talking during the break, and we talked a little bit about how TVT can be exciting and how sometimes it can't be. I said, well, you know, I don't think we'll see both players go Command Center first, but we're going to see both players go Command Center first, by the looks of things, as both of them have saved up money. They've not made a barracks, and both players are going to make Command Centers first at their natural. Talk about a mirror matchup. Look at that production tab. There's a line of symmetry across it.
Yep, here we go. So, yep, that's when things actually start to get interesting. We have both of them with a macro game going on. So yeah, we're up for quite a treat. So this is going to be a long Terran versus Terran, Supernova and MVP once again. This is going to be quite exciting. Supernova was actually on the verge of winning in the WCG Korea, and then MVP turned on the God mode, showed his skills, and defeated his opponent after all, although being behind. So Supernova is probably eager to prove himself right now against MVP.
Well, you know, MVP is known as the Game Genie Terran. You know, he put in his cheat codes and was able to just play better. And now, look at this. Both players adding 2 barracks. This is very common to see after a Command Center first. Neither player taking that kind of risky double gas after the fast Command Center. So we're probably going to see both players transition slowly into Marine Tank, and then after that, we'll see where things go. Orbitals starting as well as these barracks finish up here. Very, very mirror matchup.
We've mentioned it before when we talked about the game that MVP has 71% win ratio against Terran players. He has 77 wins and 32 losses. A very, very stable win ratio, probably the best out there. His opponent is not too bad at all, though. In this particular matchup, we have Supernova with 63%. So these are really 2 of the best Terran versus Terran players out there. And as we already mentioned, Supernova, of course, eager to prove himself. He's gonna be like, yeah, I'll show you this time. And MVP, he is just an amazing player, really accomplished one. And he's getting gas right now.
Pretty sure. You know, actually, MVP's scout was denied by those Marines, so he wasn't really able to get a good glimpse of what was going on. And on the other hand, Supernova actually was able to see the command center, was even able to get into the main base and see everything, including, in fact, seeing the gas. So he is totally in the know, whereas MVP is not.
Besides that, both are basically still doing roughly the same. We have now, let's have a look at the workers, 24 to 25, 5 Marines on both sides, first tech labs, making good use of that gas that they just started to harvest. Supernova is a little bit faster in terms of the gas. He has 100 excess gas right now that he can use, and of course a lot of barracks going down for that bio units that Wolf already mentioned. Will slowly but steadily then try to mix it up a little bit with the occasional tank. Second gas going down for MVP right now in order to get enough gas to build that factory and the upgrades that he obviously needs for his tank play.
Yeah, and combat shields going up for both players at the same time here as Supernova goes up to 4 barracks, MVP sticking with 3, getting his combat shields actually a little bit earlier. He's already gone up to 2 gases, so I think he's going to be adding his factory very soon. Supernova actually deciding to go for a fast 3rd base here, and MVP doing the exact same.
Yep, we have the perfect mirror match, 2 reactors at the same time. Look at the production tab in terms of the combat shield. That's basically in sync.
Yeah, the only thing that's different is that right now MVP is making 1 refinery, whereas Supernova is making 3. That's the only difference on that production tab.
Well, they're a little bit interchangeable right now.
Yeah. And engineering bay going down for Supernova as well. A scan goes off. Does see in his main base all the barracks, as well as the factory going up.
And we still have them with exactly the same amount of units, 37 SCVs against 37. Oh, 38 now. Small advantage for Supernova right there. And finally, oh, look at that, the barrack, the factories from both sides.
Yeah, factories going down. And this is, you know, one of those mirror matchups where neither player is 100% sure what the other is doing, but they're both trying to make the safest moves possible while they get that 3rd command center up. That's why we're not seeing a lot of action, but it looks like Supernova is finally going to move out here, get a little bit aggressive. His combat shields are done. He isn't sure if his opponent's combat shields are done or not, but he's going to find out fairly soon. But because Supernova has all of his Marines together in this one group, and MVP's Marines are kind of split up a little bit, he could win this fight.
And what I like about MVP right now is that he's concentrating on upgrades. He's getting the +1 attack upgrade in the engineering bay that he just built, so he's trying to get an edge over his opponent by using those upgrades. But at first, 3 Marines are being killed by Supernova. Now moving in, trying to apply some pressure to the yellow Terran player. Here come the forces of MVP, and Supernova is retreating, but he will lose a bunch of Marines in the process. More Marines are being killed. MVP doing a really good job at that. And now Supernova trying to get that +1 attack upgrade himself. He's a little bit behind in tech, a little bit behind with the starport as well. So MVP has a slight advantage over his opponent right now, getting the armory. Both of them actually are. And MVP following it up with 3 additional barracks.
This is a really interesting game that we're seeing here right now. You know, Supernova is going for that reactor on his starport as well. Both players doing the exact same thing. I mean, to the T. Additional barracks now being added for Supernova as well as he moves his factory. You know, both players kind of moving out in the middle of the map, both considering destroying these rocks even. I mean, this is quite literally a mirror matchup, and it looks like both of them are going to be going Marine Medevac with no siege tank support, at least initially here. Finally, MVP starts a tech lab on his factory, probably going to be adding some siege tanks in fairly soon. Well, this is a pretty weird game.
Yeah, with the Marine Medivac without the tanks, of course, they are kind of flexible as well in terms of drop play, so I guess that we will see a lot of that happening later on. +2 attack now being researched for MVP as well as the armor upgrade. Supernova is still trying to get this first upgrade for his Marines, and at the same time, we also have more gas being mined for both players now at the 3rd. So supply-wise, they are on 110, both of them. And here comes the first tank for MVP, by the way.
Yeah, he's kind of being the revolutionizer of this game, making the first tank. Supernova adding more add-ons to his barracks here. It's like a drop being spotted there. He's actually going to go ahead and go into the main, and Supernova frantically getting his Marines back in there in time, having to stim to chase that medevac away.
Yeah, that medevac is didn't have any chance of all of dropping the units, but at the same time we have a drop in the main base of MVP here. Supernova trying to take out that one missile turret, killing a bunch of SCVs as well, and another fight at the bottom of the map, and that dropship is down. Supernova doing a good job at claiming that up, losing the units in the main base of MVP at the same time though.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about the production right now. Supernova making 10 Marines to 12 Marines per cycle, whereas MVP is only making 8, but MVP has more siege tanks out right now. Hold that thought, picking off a tank here in the middle of the map, but Supernova is actually cleared up the third base. He's forced a lift on it, or rather MVP is lifted both
of them talking about Mirror, and both of them trying to take the command center out. Will MVP actually succeed in doing so? Supernova was not able to kill the command center, but now MVP moving in with another stim and taking out that command center. This is huge. We're seeing a really intense mirror match, and this is quite a lead for Supernova right there.
Yeah, man, this is the mirror matchup, but it looks like MVP may be able to hold off Supernova's attack here. Indeed he does, and MVP looking to be very ahead at this point.
Yeah, I just miscalled that. I was going for MVP and actually ended up saying Supernova. So obviously with the command center, the third base being killed, MVP is way ahead right now. Both players are still on the same amount of units, roughly 2 tanks, about 17-18 Marines, and a 38 to 35 worker supply, but we have one of them. We have MVP on 3 bases, while Supernova is just now trying to rebuild his third command center.
His third command center and his natural. We lost both command centers here, and there's this unit that can be called down from an orbital command called a mule, and if you have 3, you can call down 3 mules, and that's pretty good, especially if you can force a cancel, but Supernova will not allow him to force that cancel. Well, he decides to cancel either way because he lost the SCV building it. And man, Supernova is behind.
Yeah, another advantage is of course that if you saturate 3 bases instead of only 1, that's always a lot better if you have the ISCVs mining from 3 bases. But here's Supernova, he needs to attack right now, moving in, trying to take down that tank. Both players now just attacking. Supernova is not able to take out MVP. 77 supply against 100. And wow, Supernova, the OGS player, he's in so much trouble right now. There are siege tanks sieged up at the Xel'Naga Watchtower, and what can he do now?
There's not a whole lot he can do. I mean, he has to end this game soon. He canceled that command center because he knew, I can't actually catch up in a macro game. It's just not actually possible. MVP right now is starting +3 for his infantry. He's got +2 armor about to finish. He's got +1 for his tanks about to finish as well. He is just ahead in every aspect at this point. Supernova may catch him a little bit off guard here, though, as his army is out of position. He has lifted his command center, but he's going to lose all of these SCVs.
And at the same time, MVP is going in for the kill. He's actually walking towards the main base of his opponent. Doesn't care all too much about that attack by Supernova. And Supernova really needs to deal some damage with those Marines if he wants to stay in the game. But at the same time, we have MVP just moving up the ramp, sieging up with the siege tank, taking out the Marines of Supernova. And I don't think that MVP will... Yeah, well, he don't want to lose that game. Here's the GG. MVP taking out Supernova on the first map.
So that was a little bit of a weird game. We had a command center first versus a command center first. Both players going into only Marine medevac as they slowly transitioned into tanks. We had a fast third by both players, and then both players forced the lifts on their thirds. But GanZi's not playing in this.
He'll play tomorrow, though.
Supernova did not have siege mode at his base, so he wasn't able to protect his command centers. So he ended up losing not only his third, but then when the units came into his natural, he had no answer, whereas MVP had siege tanks there, so Supernova's forces couldn't push any further in, and then he was able to save both command centers, got way ahead as a result.
Yep, and MVP ending up taking the first game. The second map will be Shakur's Plateau. Both players are just getting ready, and we're obviously going to see if MVP is able to take that best of 3 as well. We talked about the WCT Korea quite often now, and so far Supernova was not able to make up for that.
Yeah, we'll see if he can pull something back here. He didn't make very many critical mistakes in that game. He just, didn't see that attack coming. He was doing an attack at the same time. His siege mode was a little bit late, and I think that was kind of the turning point there. And both players did almost the exact same thing. MVP was ahead in his siege mode. He was also ahead in his infantry upgrades as well. So those are kind of the two things that put MVP ahead in that game. Our next map is going to be Shakura's Plateau, though.
And players just getting ready, as we mentioned. Yeah, the last game it was really close. The advantage of MVP was just such a small one, but in the Terran mirror match especially, when both players play exactly the same style, that's already a huge thing. And the times of MVP looked brilliant in that. He was able to take out those two command centers, and after that the game was basically over. We already talked about the mule advantage that MVP had after this, and of course being able to harvest from 3 bases instead of 1 is also a huge deal. The tanks being sieged up at Tsunaga Watchtower did a lot to win that game for MVP as well, and when he moved in, Supernova was just like, okay, I can't win that game.
Yeah, there was like one timing where Supernova and MVP had about the same size armies, even though MVP had more production. If Supernova moved out, he moved out at that point. We didn't engage properly, and MVP was just able to hold it. There was like one chance for him to win, and he messed it up. Didn't work out for him. It looks like the players are ready. Are you ready, Caldor?
Of course I am ready and charged.
All right.
Shakura's Plateau.
Yeah, Shakura's Plateau. One of our older maps. You don't see it all too often in Korean tournaments anymore. But it's one of my favorite maps, actually. I really like it.
And of course, you can play it.
I knew you'd slide that in. Well, the countdown is starting.
I had to.
Who's going to come out on top? Will MVP close it out, or will Supernova tie it up? Let's find out here at the Team Ace Invitational.
Flirting death just for